Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Abyss. This is your host, the Eternal Abyss. I hope everyone's doing fantastic on this Monday. Some parts of the United States is a pretty gloomy Monday, but a Monday nonetheless, so I'm hoping everyone had a good first day of the work week if you have a full-time job. Some may not. Some may be in academia. Some may be in other endeavors that make a Monday either good or bad. Who knows? This is the official first episode. The official first episode of The Abyss. As time passes, obviously, I'm definitely hoping to finesse this. Provide some more visuals, up the production value, maybe have guests come on. I've been on a few streams already with Cocaine Mitch, and it's been a wonderful experience, frankly. To have a nice conversation with someone, I like a conversational format that really brings out more of that sort of discourse and energy that I think a stream deserves, and the content. I believe the content deserves that as well. You want to provide energy, you want to provide entertainment, you want to provide something fun for your viewers. From the title, as you see, there's a couple of topics of some interesting things that happened today I just want to briefly touch upon. I don't plan on making this a very long stream. Who knows, depending on how the monologuing goes, the soliloquies. However that goes, we'll see how short or long the stream ends up being. Who knows? I don't have any particular set time. And if things happen on the fly, because I just took a look at the Twitter feed. So I may comment on some live Twitter feed stuff and there's some live trends, Twitter trends. That may be something that I'll look into. Excuse me. First thing that's definitely on my list. One of the biggies that's been happening right now is Representative Tlaib. I'm not entirely sure how you pronounce her name, but one thing I am sure of, she's rather an anti-Semite. It's pretty clear. She's not only has she defended Ilhan Omar, Omar's horrible anti-Semitic remarks, but it looks like she is no stranger to those kind of remarks herself. We have a video clip here. I'm going to bring this up right now. Let me cue this up here in the stream. Let me pause that for just a minute and make sure that I got volume up because, of course, I want to make sure that it's absolutely not only visible but audible as well. Like I said, this is rough around the edges right now. So bear with me here while I make sure that everything is working as expected. Here we go. Let me just make sure that a couple things are locked in place so I don't accidentally move stuff around that I don't intend to move. All right, so we got a clip here. It's going to be a still image, but the audio is what's important. So here we go. There she is in all her glory. Let's put it that way. Michigan, really, from the bottom of my heart, from the cockles of my heart. Why? This woman has a horrible history. Let's not allude ourselves here to anything. There's nothing mysterious here. This isn't something strange about this woman. She got herself, if I'm not mistaken, even arrested at one of the Trump rallies because she was being rowdy and disruptive, and I don't know if she even assaulted people or not. I really don't know. I don't have that right in front of me right now, but wouldn't surprise me because she's a very aggressive. Excuse me, I just bumped my microphone. She's a very aggressive individual, and she makes no issue with that. She takes no issue with being aggressive. She has no qualms with that. And I think that's a bit of a dangerous quality to have when you're in politics, because aggressiveness in it and of itself is not necessarily the bad thing. It's how you use that aggressiveness, when you use that aggressiveness, and with whom you use that aggressiveness. And she just seems like a very angry person. She's angry at everything and angry at everybody. And I don't even think, well, not that I think, her own words, she's never called herself an American. She's always put the fact that she's Palestinian first. She views herself as a Palestinian living in America. That's dangerous. Not dangerous because, oh, the brown people dangerous. That's just dangerous because when you're supposed to represent all Americans, you shouldn't have such a narrow self-view, frankly. There are many things that I view myself as. But if I were to go into the political field of work to represent a community, a state, a region, or even, who knows, let's pretend that one day I become the president of the United States. I'm not only going to represent that slither of people that may fall into what the categories that I may fall into. You can't do that. As much as I would cling to my beliefs, which there's nothing wrong with clinging with your beliefs, but you also have to be mindful that your beliefs, as valid as they may be, which in her case they aren't valid, but let's pretend for the sake of argument that they're valid. What are you going to do? Just stick to your beliefs? Well, no, because there's a lot more. There's greater things than you. And that's the problem with Tlaib. That's the problem with Ilhan Omar. That's the problem with AOC and much of the Democrat Party. They don't see this bigger picture. They really don't. They see this narrow power grab that they're interested in. And that's all they care about. And that's why you have the problems that you have now, where you have essentially a pedophile running for president with Biden, a socialist communist that was so lazy he got kicked out of a freaking commune. You know, Bernie Sanders. What the heck? Like, how lazy do you have to be kicked out of a commune, for the love of God? But anyways, I'm going to play this clip for you. And I'm going to make sure I raise the volume here. So watch your ears if I raise it a little bit too high. But take a listen. And I want to talk about this comment that she made. Spoiler alert, it's anti-Semitic. And if you've been following the Twitter trends, it's all about the key word that she used here. And this is the really interesting thing. The key word that she said that she has a calming feeling when she thinks about the Holocaust. There is context to this. There is. But let's listen to the clip. And then I'll make my commentary afterwards.
Created something of a stir by coming out in favor of a one-state solution in Israel and Palestine. And I think you may be the only Democrat who's publicly supported a one-state solution. So what is your vision for a one-state solution that meets both Palestinian and Israeli or Jewish national aspirations?
Absolutely. And let me tell you, I mean, for me, just I think 2 weeks ago or so, we celebrated, it took a moment, I think, in our country to remember the Holocaust. And there's a kind of a calming feeling I always tell folks when I think of the Holocaust and the tragedy of the Holocaust, and the fact that it was my ancestors, Palestinians, who lost their land and some lost their lives, their livelihood, the human dignity, their existence in many ways have been wiped out, and some people's passport. I mean, just all of it was in the name of trying to create a safe haven for Jews post the Holocaust, post the tragedy and horrific persecution of Jews across the world at that time. And I love the fact that it was my ancestors that provided that.
yeah, such a calming feeling. The genocide of an entire group of people just based on a racial or ethnic characteristic. So calming. So relaxing. So I wanted to play the entire clip because you have some people saying, oh, you're taking it out of context. This isn't what she was talking about. First of all, I am going to plead slight ignorance on one fact alone. I've studied, but before I plead ignorance, let me put a premise down. I've studied World War II extensively, actually. It's a bit of a passion of mine. I find World War II to be incredibly fascinating because of the context of what happened before, how World War I actually influenced political decision-making in that time period, which led eventually to very poor decisions that were being made by certain leadership in regards to Hitler's expansion, his rhetoric, and his military activities. So it's very interesting to see the beginning, how the war started. Then it's also equally fascinating to see how the war was waged, because there was a big difference between World War I and World War II. You had, even though, technically speaking, it's not like there was a huge amount of time between the two wars. There was some. But you had huge advancements in technology, huge advancements in strategies used by both the Allies and the Axis. And you also had different demographics. When it came to World War I versus World War II, when they were fighting, different countries were fighting with each other. It wasn't the same exact group that were fighting against each other. So it's a very fascinating study if you actually go and view the history of it. You view the history of the weaponry, of the vehicles, of the political commentary at the time, and it's also devastating. Actually, if you really look through the destruction and the death toll and just how many countries were decimated physically, emotionally, and psychologically, Europe was very broken after the war. And America is one of the few countries that, believe it or not, some people don't like to hear this reality, but believe it or not, America was one of those countries that helped rebuild Europe as a whole, and also rebuild prior enemies like the Japanese Empire and Germany. So a lot of people don't like to admit that, because you have groups of people that want to put America as the great evil of the world, that anything that America has done, or even white people for that matter, they have been a negative force throughout our entire history, which is absolute nonsense. And one day I may do a video to address that whole myth and that whole nonsense. But at this time, I'm not going to focus too much on that. I wanted to focus more on the context of why I'm talking about World War II. At the end, she talks about how Palestine was negatively affected because they were trying to protect Jews, trying to give them a home. And her ancestors, as she put it, were killed and lost their lives. And that gives her a quote-unquote calming feeling for that whole thought process that she's going through. So, as I was saying, I'm going to plead ignorance on one thing. I have no idea what she's talking about when it comes to Palestine and World War II. In all my studies, Palestine never came up as a major contributor to Jewish protection or subterfuge of Germany and the Nazis and anything like that. And it may be a lack of knowledge on my part. So I'm going to actually, for the sake of argument, I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt on that one. Why not? Let's try and be fair. I'll do some research and I'll see if what she says has any truth to it, if there's any factual data that can back up her claim. And if so, great. Whatever. I'm not gonna dispute that in this video, because that's not the point. Because let's assume she's right. Let's assume that what she's saying is absolutely factual. Let's assume that everything she said is true. Even so, the choice of words, calming feeling, that's a very interesting choice of words. Now, I don't know why she chose those words. I can merely speculate. But my speculation teeters on the side of what the hell? Because when I think of the Holocaust, I don't feel calm about that. The Holocaust, if you really sit and think about what happened during the Holocaust, and I know there's some people that are the Jews control everything, shekels and all that kind of stuff, and I know there's some people that aren't a fan of the Jews. Whatever, I'm not gonna argue. I'm not gonna get into the argument of that. I'm only speaking of on an abstract level. If you think about a genocide, any genocide, the Armenian genocide. What happened with ISIS, they were decimating Christians. The Obama administration refused for the longest time to recognize it as a genocide. They were strong-armed. They had to have their arms twisted by the global community to finally acknowledge that Christians were being indeed persecuted in the Middle East, and it was indeed a Christian genocide. Amazing, right? I find that amazing that you actually had to be strong-armed into that. But if you look at genocide from a grand scale like that, from an abstract, and not the individual group that experienced that genocide, it's unfathomable. It's an unfathomable. I can't talk tonight. It's an unfathomable thought that an entire population of people would be eradicated. And not only eradicated, cruelly, brutally, abhorrently, violently, massacred, cut down. For what? For being Christian? For being Armenian? For being Jewish? For what? That's something that gives her a calming feeling? Really? No. A rational person with a modicum of emotion, and I'm not big on, letting your emotions drive you. That's a side note. But I'm talking about empathy. Just a minimum of human dignity and human empathy. To try and even wrap your head around that sort of thing, where you're taking millions of people. Millions. Imagine an entire city like Detroit prior to the riots. You had 4 or 5 million people in Detroit, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty much off on the number. I know that, but you had millions of people. New York has millions of people today. Imagine all of New York being wiped out. Imagine that. Mind-blowing. Can you imagine a government rounding up all of the city of New York? Like DeBlasio. Let's say DeBlasio decides to be DeBlasio decides to be a dictator, rounds up everybody in New York because he just went bananas, and he decides to murder everybody in New York. Wouldn't that be a thing? But that would be a calming feeling thinking about that, right? Tlaib? I think it's pronounced Tlaib. I'm going to pronounce it Tlaib from now on. So would you quantify that as a calming feeling, Representative Tlaib? I mean, I'm honestly asking, because it just really, it does not compute in my brain when I hear a word like that, even in that context. Like I said, even in the context of the sacrifice that her people made, her predecessors made. Even in that context, that actually would still not give me a calming feeling. If I think about the sacrifices that my ancestors made, because they were involved in World War II, they were involved in World War I. And if I think about that, and I think about the people that were basically cut down and died during the war, that doesn't give me a calming feeling. That makes me grieve. That makes me very sad to think that we as human beings reached a point where, because there was so much evil concentrated in one particular government and country, or there's such a conflict between us human beings that we had to resort to just massacring each other. And then when you talk about not only war, you talk about genocide, a systematic extermination of a population. Good Lord. That just brings up a whole slew of different feelings, and they're not calming. So, Tlaib, you're ridiculous. And the fact that you even use that term, no matter what the context is, it's just absolutely horrible. There's no ifs, and, or buts about it. It's absolutely horrible. It's anti-Semitic, because I would doubt, and I'm willing to bet money, that she would use that same terminology if it relates to something else, because she's used some very strong language when it comes to the Palestinian and Israeli conflict over territory. So she's very much used a lot of strong words in the past. She's used very bad and strong words against Trump. So that she's capable of conjuring up different types of emotions, more aggressive emotions, because she's shown to be a very aggressive person. So that particular type of wording for that particular scenario is very, very troubling in my view. It doesn't sound like something that a rational person would say. That's something that a psychopath would say. Frankly, I think that's a key indicator that you're a psychopath. If you think mass murder of millions of people is calming, you're a psychopath. Plain and simple. I mean, there's nothing more, nothing less. But speaking of New York, since I have brought up New York, see what I did there? Bill DeBlasio was in the news today. DeBlasio. I call him DeBlasio with a BLAH because he is one of the worst, if not the worst, mayor New York has ever seen. I'm not too familiar with the entire history of New York, so I'm not going to make the claim that he is the worst, but from the few that I've read a lot about in my lifetime, he absolutely seems to be a horrid mayor. And he tried to play this little political game today, which blew up in his face, and it was glorious. Just glorious, hilariously glorious. And I'm going to put this up here. Let's watch this.
It was the worst optics ever for a man expected to announce this week whether he'll run for president. Screaming, heckling Trump supporters surrounded Mayor de Blasio with protest signs. Worst mayor ever, Trump 2020. One even had de Blasio's face on the body of a donkey. All because de Blasio was hoping to score political points by holding a Green New Deal rally in what he thought was the belly of the beast, Trump Tower, which had to provide public space to build higher. Instead, the president won the day from 227 miles away, and he didn't even have to tweet.
Clearly, the Trump organization is a little sensitive to the fact that we're calling them out for what they are doing to the climate.
The mayor threatened the president with $2 million in fines if his real estate company doesn't comply with the city's new building emission standards. And he gamely tried to attack while Trump supporters rode up and down the escalators behind him and made such a racket the mayor grew hoarse trying to make his points.
I'm going to say a few words, a few words in Spanish.
He also had to strain to hear reporters' questions over the din, which included music played over the loudspeaker and some rude questions.
Why do you fix the MTA?
And it wasn't lost on political observers that the escalators the mayor stood in front of were the same ones then-citizen Trump used to swoop into a press conference announcing his decision to run for president.
Oh, yeah.
In the end, the mayor was left with only one tool in the toolbox: name-calling.
We understand Donald Trump's approach. He always tries to be a bully, and what we know as New Yorkers, you just take on a bully. Never back down in the face of a bully.
Well, the mayor insisted that he didn't mind the protesters, that it was nice for them to serenade him. At one point, he said it was music to his ears.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Problem is, it could make voters in early primary states think he's tone deaf. Maurice, Christine?
He's
I'm trying to
absolutely
remember a
tone deaf.
spectacle like that in the belly of the beast. Have you?
I've never really seen a spectacle quite like that before.
No.
And I've been doing it like a
little while.
A little while, yeah.
Again, as you said, it's the optics of it, right?
Well,
It's
terrible.
Political instincts to do that.
Well, also, he's supposed to make his decision this week, so, think of all the people who are going to tweet that out.
Right. Already. Okay. Thank you, Marcia.
Whoops. So, DeBlasio, oh my God, the face on the donkey, that's just that's just beautiful. Now, DeBlasio by far and large is pretty much a failure as a mayor. New York has had an increase in crime. It's increased in dirtiness and griminess. The MTA is a disaster. It's really a mess. New York City has been a mess, and it's increasingly a mess under DeBlasio. And it's so delicious that he's trying to play a political stunt because he thought this was going to play in his favor, because these people like DeBlasio and the governor of California, I can't remember his name off the top of my head right now, but these people think that they live in this monolithic ideological bubble. They think everybody thinks like they do. And this goes to show you exactly how diverse the thought process is in a city even as liberal and as blue as New York. You have Trump supporters. You have people in that building buying food, buying paraphernalia, supporting Trump. As you can see, they just made de Blasio look like a complete ass, and deservingly so. It's very much an indicator of how tone deaf, as those reporters said, he truly is. I mean, he's really out of touch. He has no idea what he's talking about. And this guy is planning to even try and run for president. I don't think so. It would be hilarious, really, just for fun. I would love to see a debate between de Blasio and Trump, because de Blasio would just fall apart like a bowl of Jello that you're pouring like hot water on. He just go blah, 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 blah. He just bubbled down into little itty bitty pieces. This guy has no idea what he's doing. He doesn't know who he's going up against. And this whole New York New Green Deal, I think there are some organizations that are looking into that. I have to see, because there's some legal organizations that check into like cities that are doing stuff like this, which is clear, using government to persecute people just because you don't like them. There's no real evidence that these buildings are doing as much damage as they say. I haven't seen any evidence come out of de Blasio's office about that. They just claim, oh, Trump's towers, the old skyscrapers are doing all this much damage. Are they? Okay. Can you show me some evidence to back that up? And real evidence, not fake climate models, not, itty-bitty ridiculous nonsense that you chop and you manipulate the graphs to show exactly what you want. I'm talking real data, real evidence. If you can't, then frankly, I don't even want to listen to you, because I'm only interested in the facts. And if de Blasio can't even present simple facts and to even argue his own case, this is the thing that bothers me. And I'm actually gonna bring up AOC as well, because this whole new Green New Deal disaster thing stemmed from her to begin with, which even cost New York. Which I find it hilarious that de Blasio is jumping on this wagon. I don't know what focus group told him to do this, or what campaign person told him to do this. this whole ridiculous thing cost New York City billions, and about 25,000 to 30,000 jobs from Amazon. He blamed AOC for that as well. Yet he's pulling this New York Green Deal sort of thing now. So it's weird. It's weird what he's doing. I don't understand why there's some political reason for it, because he thinks millennials want it, I think. So he's jumping on that bandwagon. But yeah, he made a complete ass of himself, and I'm okay with that, frankly, because he's a pretty terrible mayor. He really, really is. And speaking of AOC, not too long ago, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, as Steven Crowder puts it, she said one of the most ridiculous things on this planet in defense of her Green New Deal that was going to be coming out. And the Green New Deal refers to this sort of timeline as well, if I'm not mistaken. I did read the entire Green New Deal, but there's so much that goes on. I would have to revisit it to be sure I remember the exact verbiage of what the quote-unquote deal said. But anyways, the point was that she said that in 12 years the world was going to end. This was our World War II. She said that. Her words. Apparently, she's been catching a lot of crap for that. A lot of heat for it. Incredibly so, which now prompted her to pedal back on it. And she tweeted this out today. No, not today. I'm sorry. Yesterday at 12:01 p.m., she put a tweet out. And I'm going to bring it up for you to show you here. There we go. So, as you can see there, it says, I'll read it out loud. This is a technique of the GOP. I'm not going to try and do her voice because I can't make myself sound that stupid. This is a technique of the GOP to try to take dry humor plus sarcasm literally and quote-unquote fact-check it. Like the quote-unquote world ending in 12 years thing, comma. You'd have to have the social intelligence of a sea sponge to think it's literal. But the GOP is basically Dwight from The Office, so who knows? So it's really funny. I find two things interesting about this tweet. One is that out of nowhere, she seemingly is backing off of this because she has received non-stop criticism for this, mocking, unending mocking for this sort of deadline, because there's zero evidence to show that it's anywhere near 12 years. Except you have idiots like Bill Nye who say, "Oh no, she's right," but Bill Nye is a complete dunderhead. I don't know what the hell happened to him. He must have fallen on his head or something that hit a soft spot. I have no idea what happened to him. But Bill Nye is a whole nother episode to work with here. But anyways, so like I was saying, there's two things that I find interesting about this tweet. One is the fact that she pedaled back so much on this. She completely did a reversal on it. And it's not like one of those kind of, maybe it's not 12 years, but maybe it's good. It'll be 50 or something. No. She's not. She completely invalidated her own statement. She's saying, "Oh, it's humor and sarcasm." Well, that's interesting because in the context of the video, which I could bring up actually, but I'm not going to go into that. I don't want to make this video too incredibly long. In the context of that video, nobody laughed. Nobody, snickered as if it was satire. Nobody went, "Oh, he." Everybody applauded and cheered her when she said that. And the reporter that was interviewing her went, yes, oh, yeah, absolutely. So I find it very funny that she's going with this. This is something that you typically hear a lot in academia, actually. In my university days, you would have people posit very ridiculous arguments in a debate. Seriously, And they would put forth a serious argument that was absolutely laughable. And when you started mocking them on that, or you pointed out the ridiculousness of the argument, all of a sudden they go, oh, no, I was just being, sarcastic. I was being snide, dark humor, dry humor, blah, blah. No, it doesn't work that way. When you're being sarcastic and you're using dry humor or dark humor or something like that, there's a very specific tone in your speech. There's a very specific cadence. There's a very specific verbiage that you use. Alexandra, you're not fooling anybody. That you're not that finessed in language. You really don't know what you're talking about. You don't even know what dry humor plus sarcasm is. But I like the little jab of intelligence because everybody has been calling her stupid, including myself, because she is. She's an incredibly unintelligent person. She cannot put two words together without sounding like a complete idiot. Everything that comes out of her mouth is absolutely factually wrong. She claims to have a moral high ground even though she's factually incorrect, which is absolutely laughable because even the moral high ground that she claims she does not have. She lacks that incredibly. So this is just stupid. Stupid, stupid, stupid. I call her a vacant lot. That's short because the whole statement that I made at one time, the first time I heard her speak, I called her a vacant lot for a skull. She's got nothing going on up there. Her brain is a vacant parking lot. Just nothing. Echo chamber. Things just bounce around in there and nothing's happening. If there was a gerbil wheel, the gerbil is not there. There's nothing. There's not even a dead gerbil. There's just nothing. So the fact that she actually is trying to flip the narrative saying, oh, no, they're the stupid ones. Again, very childish, very immature. And it just shows you how ill-prepared she is intellectually, inexperienced, and also she just doesn't understand the basic concepts of anything that she's talking about. She is absolutely the stupidest person I have ever seen in politics. And that's a challenge because on the Democrat side, there are a lot of stupid Democrats. Oh, boy, there are there. Goodness gracious, there are a lot. Soldat, yeah, I see. At one point, you thought Alexandria Occasional Cortex was a deep cover op, but the GOP could never pull that off. You know what? At one point, I almost thought that too. Yeah, haha, troll. AOC 2020. I think I would jump off a bridge if that were to happen. No, not really. She's not worth killing myself over, but I would probably turn to alcohol and drugs, maybe. You know? Gerbil died from lack of oxygen. You got it, cocaine. You got it, cocaine, Mitch. That is absolutely true. There was one more thing I wanted to just really talk about, like two quick mentions. Doris Day passed away today. Trump would win 48 states versus AOC. Oh, I would believe so. She would the only states she could possibly win is California and, well, maybe three. California, New York, and maybe like where there's a very, very large Latino population. So New Mexico probably. I think they have a very large Latino population. So she may be able to win that. But that's all she would get. And that's being generous. Oh, that's right. Hawaii is incredibly blue. See, I'm convinced that New York just wouldn't flip because you have so many liberals here that just absolutely hate Trump. I don't know. I really don't know. But hey, you know what? That's absolutely true, Soldat. The Soldat said, yeah, first time in like 50 years GOP would win New York. I didn't expect Michigan to flip red. And I had this conversation with Cocaine Mitch the other night, and I was shocked, literally shocked in 2016 when Trump won that Michigan flipped. It blew my freaking gourd. I'm not kidding. And when that happened, I knew it was in the bag. There were a couple of states that flipped, and I was like, oh, that's it. He's in. He's the president. When the election first started, I will admit I had a slight tinge of concern because I'm like, are they gonna really like rig the election so much that he won't be able to win, even though he has the votes? But he pulled it off, and kudos to him. And I'm hoping that he wins again. And at the way things stand right now, he has a good chance of winning. He really does. And like I said, I just want to mention two quick things here that happened today. Doris Day passed away today. I don't know if there's a lot of Doris Day fans out there. I'm not saying that I'm a particularly huge fan. I love old movies. I love the silver screen movies, like all those movies between the 20s, all the silent era, up into the 1960s, where you had some very interesting musicals. Doris Day was a very talented person, and she made a huge impact in the movies. So, for those that feel her loss, it's a bit of a sad day for those people that were huge fans of her. I'm not a huge fan of any actor or actress because I don't idolize any actor or actress, but I do recognize that she did provide a contribution to the arts, and for that, let's say, I think that chime may have come through on the screen. But I say, let's salute those that provide a positive contribution to the arts, and hope that actors and actresses moving forward know that their job is to entertain, and it is to provide that artistic talent for that purpose, to provide that contribution. One thing that if anybody reads my Twitter feed, I call actors and actresses a lot. I call them court jesters, because really that's what they are. They are the modern day court jester. We go to the theaters or to the movies and to Broadway, and we sit down and we essentially say, "Dance for me, jester. Entertain us. Sing for me, dance for me. Wear a green suit and provide some CGI in the background to make me think you're a superhero when you're really not." We want entertainment. We want escapism. I don't care about their political opinions. This is something that's left a bitter taste in my mouth when it comes to, like, the Marvel movies, for example, because just about every cast member has really insulted anybody that it does not fall in line with their ideological beliefs, and that's a terrible thing, in my opinion. It really is. So I hope that, and I'll probably do a video about Disney and Marvel and the ills of those studios and the fact that they're just taking a ginormous diarrhea dump on a lot of Bitway will remain pure. Yes, Meave, yes. As long as we follow the TOS. All right. But I would really wish that these studios wake up a little bit and realize that they're really hurting themselves at the end of the day. They don't see that yet because it's this whole bubble thing, like New York, California, Hawaii. They live in a bubble. That's what it is. The other thing that I just wanted to briefly touch upon was, I'm sure everybody, if they haven't seen it yet, the Kitty style spurg out, complete nuclear meltdown. I don't know what the heck got into him apart from some alcohol. That made him lose his mind. It was glorious, frankly. A bit strange. And I actually have a quick clip just in case you weren't here earlier today. Because I was actually, this is the funny thing, I was at work, the Cognitive Thought stream picked up on it, had Cookie on there talking, and he started showing some clips about that. So let me put this up here, and you can see, let's see if I can jump to the clip that I want to right here.
Give me more hatred! Give me more!
Mental. Absolutely mental.
That sums it up right there. No, I don't personally have any ill feelings towards Kitty. I really don't. I think that from the admitting to molesting his sister. From what I've been told, he admitted that. And from his behavior in general, I feel that he's a very messed up individual. And my thought for anybody, good or bad, is I don't want to play any more of that because he's got a way more airtime than deserved today. But my thought process is, I really hope that people that are messed up like that find help. And it was actually funny. One quick comment I want to make about this was the other day, whenever it was, I can't remember the exact date, he was, bashing on Bitwave and, threatening Bitwave users like myself, even though I had never even spoken to him. And, calling us all sorts of names and talking about how horrible his life was and all that. And I asked a very legitimate question. And I asked him, because he was talking about how he, it was in a bad spot. His life was in a bad situation. And I said, well, from my understanding, this happened 8 years ago, right? What have you been doing since then? And my chat just reset for some reason. It just cleared. What the heck happened? Dispatch. Dispatch is the owner of Bitwave, by the way. I don't know what he must have tripped over some server plug or something like that and unplugged the server. I don't know what happened. I'm assuming my stream is still streaming. Yes. Okay. Good. But anyways, yeah, that was an amazing meltdown. I had not really witnessed that online just yet. I'm sure there have been plenty of people that have done that. I've seen some of Mr. Medicare's videos where he shows clips of people just going absolutely loco in debates, like the internet blood sports deal, things like that, where people just start yelling into their microphones. So, yeah, that's fun. Very fun. I'm gonna wrap this up. But there's two quick things I noticed here in the trends, the Twitter trends right now. Apparently, Jimmy Carter is recovering from surgery after breaking a hip. Jimmy Carter, good Lord. He was such a horrible president. I mean, he seems like a nice guy. He was a peanut farmer. He just seems like a nice guy, but he's just... I've had this conversation with Cocaine Mitch on his stream. He just wasn't president material. He was not leadership material. He was in over his head, and it just was not his bread and butter. But hey, hopefully he'll recover from the fall okay and recover okay from the surgery, and maybe he'll just kind of stay on the sidelines as he usually does and not really comment too much on politics. And we'll see what happens in the future with good old Carter. And then Bill Nye, the absolute moronic guy, dropped some F-bombs while discussing climate change because that makes it real, yo. That's real talk. Come, give me a break. I mean, first of all, Bill, you're an old man. Nobody wants to see an old man drop F-bombs. It's just silly. It's kind of pathetic. And especially on John Oliver, where John Oliver... His stuff really shows a lack of real research. Thank you, Scout. I appreciate it. Carter saw a UFO? I was not quite aware of that, so that's interesting. I may have to look into that and make a video about it. Carter's UFO. We'll do a whole episode dedicated to that. Poor peanut farmer. He'll be remembered more as a peanut farmer than a sub-commander. Yeah, very much. I mean, that's his claim to fame, really. Honestly. They all trying to beat Trump. Yeah, they all trying, but they failing. They absolutely failing, Meave. That is true. Yeah, but again, going back to Bill Nye, I remember watching Bill Nye when I was a kid, and it really blew my mind how completely, just gross he's become. He's become like this really disgusting, hateful, angry, old man. He's like one of those old neighbors that when you were younger would be nice to you, and then when you got a little older, he's like keeping the ball if it falls in his yard, and saying, putting up signs to keep off the grass, and saying grass isn't grass. He's saying grass is actually ice cream. Like it seems like he's just going into layers of dementia, frankly. It doesn't make any sense. And he claims to be the quote-unquote science guy, which is rather laughable if you really think about it, because if you're the science guy, wouldn't you, go with what science says? I would think so. I mean, I know it's a stretch. I know it's a big stretch. But hey, that's just me. Maybe I'm a dreamer. Spam is the solutions. Yeah. The chat isn't scrolling for me anymore. Heck yeah, sold out. All right. What's with the fedora guy? Where'd that come from? I've never seen that before. All right. Well, I think I'm going to wrap it up for today. This was the official first episode of The Abyss. I hope to do this on a regular basis. I don't have a set schedule for now because it really depends on, the news of the day, what I'm feeling, and also time and scheduling. Right now, things are a little up and down, and depending on what's going on for the day, I may have to do it on one day or another, and there may be more interesting things to talk about one day versus the other. So I want to thank all my viewers, and I hope everyone enjoyed the show. If you could consider donating, I don't plan on making money off of this stuff, but I can't fund all this stuff out of pocket indefinitely. I mean, right now I'm just starting. It's a very basic setup, so it's all right. But moving forward to produce better quality content and better quality productions, I would love to be able to do so, and I can't, unfortunately, do everything out of pocket. So please consider donating. Please subscribe, follow, go to bitwave.tv if you want free speech, absolute free speech in your streams. If you're on DLive, thank you for listening on DLive. Drop me some lemons, drop me some follows. And YouTube, I try to stream on YouTube as well, but for some reason, my restreaming service, which has nothing to do with Bitwave, because I use restream.io, for some reason, YouTube is just borked. I don't know what's going on with that. It's just absolutely borked. I am recording this stream, so I'll probably just upload it as an archive, but I'll also upload it to BitChute, because I do use BitChute for archiving, so we'll do it that way. Free speech, heck yeah, Meave, heck yeah. But all right, once again, thank you everyone. Have a wonderful night, and be good, kids. Have a good night.